Hey, cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. I had a hankering to do a race during the midweek, but I also need to do some upper intensity work. Now that Zwift downgraded me to a category C, I was going to see if I could do both at the same time. I tried this once or twice when I was a category B, and that didn't work out well for me. I had a couple choices this afternoon to race, and one was the volcano circuit, and that probably would have taken me about 20 minutes, and that would have been a little difficult to do the type of workout I wanted to do. And the other was a 30-mile road race that was mostly flat. I like the flat ones. About the only negative of doing this race was that there were only 4 of us in the category C's. Now we started off together with the other categories, but there weren't a lot in there either. Before I go into the workout that I wanted to do and then what I ended up finally doing, let's jump ahead to the first action. So we're still all together. We have somebody that's jumping off the front, Newsom. Newsom's jumping off the front, and he's a category A, my being a C, and really, really old. And for those of you not familiar with my channel, I am just about 68. I'm going to try and ride the wheels of whoever's going to go after him. It looks like most everyone is looking for someone else to start chasing. There's only about 20 of us in this race. Again, there's only 4 in the category C's, and looks like there's at least 4 in the category A's, and I don't think there were any D's. Not sure about that. Actually, I see a couple now. You can tell by the yellow dots that are on the graphics on the right. However, there were no D's that finished this race. So this race took the C's about an hour and a quarter. While I was gabbing, we do have some action on the screen. Now people are starting to chase. I'm trying to get on their wheels. You can look at the camera shot in the lower left-hand corner. You can see I have my happy face on. I'm not on anybody's wheel yet. I'm doing well over 350 watts and 270 watts is my FTP. We are spread out with gaps. If you look at the map insert in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see no one is dropped yet. I'm about to make contact with a group of B's, and I have the rest of the C's just spread out behind me. Ordinarily, I would have kept my power up just a little bit longer just to make contact with these guys, but I was a little bit gassed, and so I'm just hoping I can just roll up to them. But somebody attacks out of that group, and now everyone's chasing after him. So now I have to do more power, and when I'm really not ready to put a lot more power in, and you can see that my wattage is now down to the 200s. I'm getting passed by individuals, so far we have a group of A's in the front. They're being chased by a group of B's, and there's a group of C's now chasing after these guys. And the guys in front of me, they're starting to get more distance. Actually, there is a category C that's up there. A Makoto Itsukaichi from Japan. Don't know how old he is, but by his profile picture, I'm going to guess he's in his 20s or 30s. I'm sure it was no easy feat getting up there, and being able to stay up there is going to be a whole nother story in itself. Jumping ahead about 3.5 minutes, Makoto is up in a group ahead of us about 14 seconds, and I'm with Hamish Waits, 45 years old, from Australia. I am doing one of my workout moves. So my intent was to go do some over-unders. I would go over, let's say, about 110% of my FTP for a minute, and then under, let's say, about 92%, so I'd be top my sweet spot for about 2 minutes, and I'd do that for like 3 cycles. I did that the first time, and that actually pulled us away from this group that was about a couple seconds back of us, but I'm still having a little trouble with the Zwift power versus the on-the-road power thing. So I shifted it to more of a over with one long under to try and get away and stay away. As you can see, it was not easy to get away from Hamish. After that previous attack, I noticed that Makoto had lost contact with the group that he was with. I started working with Hamish to bring him back in. I actually didn't know if Hamish knew that Makoto was in no man's land. You couldn't tell by the map insert in the upper right, but you could tell by the data that's on the right graphics. It didn't seem Hamish was committed to the idea if he did know, so at a certain point, I just attacked again. It was here I realized that Hamish is pretty darn strong. Again, he's over 20 years younger than I am, but I know I wasn't able to get a lot of distance from him. I got to maybe like 5 meters and that's it. Rather than do the over-under thing, I just dialed back because we're only a little over 6 miles into this 30-mile race. Makoto is slowly coming back to us. He's now about 20 seconds ahead of us. Another one of the reasons that I attacked this last time is that we were heading to this, the only climb in this course. I obviously wanted to get here before he did, but you saw that he caught me. Now what you didn't see was that later on he countered me and now was chasing him. And I caught him just before the start of this climb. And I don't know how he does in this climb, but right now he's starting to pull away from me. So he's a pretty strong guy. Unless he's playing possum, I don't think he's able to sustain his power. And my advantage is I can sustain my power, but the disadvantage is I'm not as powerful as Hamish is. I'm going to keep my attack as long as I can. I'm hoping he's burnt out a little bit because I see that Makoto is up ahead. He's now about 7 seconds ahead. So if I can catch him before Hamish catches us, I can do what I can to pull clear with Makoto. But there's Hamish. Like I said, he's got a lot of power. With the gap now down to 6 seconds, we both dialed back to take a breather. With the gap now down to 4 seconds, Hamish attacks. He's probably doing the same thing that I was trying to do. With Hamish's theoretical problem with sustainability, I'm able to ramp it up, and then when I pass him, I then apply the power, so then I counter him in an effort to, again, get up to Makoto, pull Makoto away, and it'll just be the two of us. The first part of the plan works. I get up to Makoto, and I keep going, so I'm hoping that he's going to come with me, but no, it's just me solo, and with 22 miles to go, it's probably not going to work out so well. I dial back, and now we are a group of 3. A couple miles later, I position myself toward the back, and then I attack. When I'm on a solo break, I look at one of 2 things. First, look at the graphics at the bottom to see if I've passed 10-meter difference between me and them. And if I have, then I look at the graphics on the right. So right now they are 3 seconds and 4 seconds behind me. I also look to see if they're together or if they're starting to split apart. Right now, it looks like they're not on each other's wheel. That gives me more motivation to keep going. I also look at their watts per kilogram and try and stay above that on the average. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. They've gone from 3 and 4 seconds down to 2 and 3 seconds. Now it's 1 and 2 seconds. I keep up with my power just in case they start to let up. But now I'm looking at the graphics at the bottom and I'm seeing they're close to that 1 second mark. Even though it says 1 second, now they've crossed it. So now I dial back. I'm looking for a counter attack. I'm breathing hard, but I still have some legs. So if there's a counter, I'll be able to answer it. And fortunately, there is not. They may be just as tired as I am. Now, that was a little over 1 mile attack. I was out there and a little over 3 minutes. Not quite half a mile later, Hamish kind of rolls off the front. Makoto goes with him. Now, all this happens as I'm dropping to the back. Hamish applies power, and he's off. Now, Makoto sees this and is now going after him. I'm now getting my power back up, and I'm going after him too. The catch is going to be made, but I'm also thinking that this is a great time to counter. So I counter. So now I'm off. I'm thinking, or at least I'm hoping, that the other 2 let up a little bit when they saw we were going to come together. That hesitation gave me at least half a second more of distance. So I'm looking at the graphics on the right, and they still haven't picked up yet. Maybe they're thinking that I'm going to come back, that it's too much. But now they're still below 3.0 watts per kilogram. And I'm going at 4.1. The distance to them is now to 2 seconds, and it's heading toward 3. I again turn my attention to the graphics on the right, looking at their watts per kilogram, and I'm at the time difference between me and them, and I'm also looking at the map in the upper right-hand corner. I am trying to break their spirit. They may be just letting me burn out here. I have somewhat of an idea of how Hamish rides, but I don't know about Makoto. All I know is that he was able to make that front group where Hamish and I were not. They're now both about 1.5 seconds behind me. If I can extend out that distance, I can break them. At least that's what I'm thinking. So now that's up to 2 seconds. Back to 1 second. I'm starting to get weak, so I decided to dial back a bit. I was off for, this time a little longer, 1.5 miles. We are now just past the halfway point. Hamish again tried to roll off the front, and I stayed closer to him. Makoto went to the back, and now he's launching it. I don't want to chase him, so I stay back, and I'm thinking that, at least I'm hoping that Hamish will chase him. Hamish is not going to chase him because he wants me to chase him. So now Makoto is just getting more and more distance. Makoto now has 1 second on us. Hamish was thinking about it, but then he dialed back. So now I'm back on his wheel, and we're just watching Makoto. Makoto isn't gaining any more distance. He's about still 1 second ahead of us. So we're just kind of watching. I'm wondering if Hamish is thinking about bridging up to him and both of them trying to get away from me. I'm also thinking the same thing. However, you'll remember from earlier in the race when I tried that same thing, Makoto didn't go with me. Through a combination of our slowing up and Makoto going faster, he's now 3 seconds away. I better go now before this gets too hard. So I'm able to bridge up to him and leave Hamish behind. And Makoto goes with me. But Hamish has the legs and he caught right up to us. So I'm thinking, I knew this guy was strong, but he's maybe stronger than I thought he was. Jumping ahead about 1 mile, I noticed the tactics were starting to change. It was now turning 2 against 1, and I was the 1. And that's logical because I'm the one that's doing a lot of attacking. So if I was one of them, I would be looking at two different tactics. One, the one that they seem to be employing now, the 2 against 1. And the other would be where they would be opportunistic, where they would try to get away with me and leave the other guy behind. So now in this case, I was off for a little bit. They came back and I was immediately countered by Makoto. Now, Haynes is not going to chase after him, so now I chase after him, and then I'm countering him. This is another opportunity. But my legs are starting to get a little bit tired, and I never get more than 1 second away from them. I know they're going to catch me, but I don't know if they're going to counter. And there is Hamish, and he is countering. Makoto's not going to go on his wheel. He's going to go on my wheel, and he's going to have me pull him up to Hamish. Now I'm thinking that Makoto's going to counter. Having that happen will suck the life out of me. So I make the catch to Hamish, and now I'm looking for Makoto. Makoto should have attacked by now. I look at his watts per kilogram on the right hand side, and he's just sitting back. So I dial my power back. I see him come up, but he's not coming up with a lot of power. So it's now Gruppo Compacto. That tells me he doesn't have the legs for a long one, doesn't have maybe confidence in being able to hold off both of us for 12 miles, or maybe another quick counter would have weighed too much on him. Just about a mile later, I'm thinking that these guys are able to communicate in the way that I can't see or hear. They've been trying to sneak off the front, especially Hamish, and now they're in a position where Makoto goes off on a little bit of an attack, and now I'm chasing him because of course Hamish is not going to chase him. He's just going to sit on my wheel. I see that Makoto's now slowing, so I begin to slow, and I'm thinking it's Gruppo Compacto, but Hamish has other ideas. He rolls up to the back of us, he rests for a bit, probably plays a little bit of possum, and then he takes off. Of course, I can't wait for Makoto to see if he's going to chase at all, so I've got to get up to speed. I chase him, I counter, and I'm getting tired, and they catch me, and then they counter. Hamish counters right away. These guys are getting too smart. Now Makoto is countering. At least I'm smart enough to know that I can't do any big surges to go after them. The only thing that I can do that'll give me the best chance to beat these guys at the end is the slowest, smoothest fast. And the action isn't done yet. I'm thinking, and yes, I'm hoping that these guys are tired. I'm also thinking and hoping that my repeatability is better than their repeatability. Okay, I'm really hoping on that one. So I get some distance on them, and 1 second, and now 2 seconds. I'm seeing if they're still together, if they're splitting. There's still about 2 seconds, and I'm holding it. I look up at the mileage, and I see I have 9 miles to go. Cool, no problem. I look at the distance, and they're now between 1 and 2 seconds. They're 1 second, and they're going to make the catch any moment now. I'm keeping my speed up just in case there's a counter. That looks like there's a counter there. He's starting to go. Now they're both going. I'm now getting pretty tired. I recognize this is the second lap, and we're coming up on that climb again, and I'm able to make connection with them before they get in the climb. Hamish uses his power, just gets away from us. Makoto again is just waiting for me. You can look at my picture on the left-hand side and know that I'm pretty reamed, so I'm just trying to get a little bit of recovery. Hamish now has 3 seconds on us. 4 seconds. I'm still waiting for a little bit of energy to go back into my legs. I'm hoping that with the distance that Hamish is going, that Makoto is going to chase after him, and he was doing that for a little bit, but then he slowed down when he saw that I was getting back on his wheel. So basically it's my responsibility, I figure. I look at the time splits, and Hamish still he's now up to 5 seconds. Was that young man playing possum on me? Makoto's smelling blood in the water, so he attacks in order to get up to Hamish so they can work together. I still have some legs, so I'm able to get in his draft close enough, and he pulls me up to Hamish. Disaster averted. I figure both of these guys are tired. I've got a little bit of repeatability, so I attack. I pretty quickly get 3 seconds on them. Even though that little insert map on the upper right hand corner shows they're together, I'm looking at the splits, and they may not be on each other's wheels. One will show 3 seconds while the other one shows 4 seconds. And then it'll kind of oscillate that way. 3-3, 3-4. Now it's 2 seconds. They're together, and they seem to be catching me. It's now less than 5 miles to go. I'm hoping, back up to 3 seconds. This is where I hope that they are starting to get tired and then disillusioned because they can't chase and the other guy's not chasing. Now up to 5 seconds, 4 and 5 seconds. I'm starting to think I've got this. So I keep up the power. I don't have a lot left. I'm not going into the fours, but if I can approach 3.5, then good. I'm also looking at their watts per kilogram, and I'm trying to keep mine above theirs. But alas, they had more power than I thought, and they make the catch. We now have about 3.4 miles to go. It's now just over 2 kilometers to go. I attacked them 2 more times between this last clip and where we are now in the video. I figure, and really I'm hoping, that my repeatability is a lot better than theirs, and that my form, even though I'm a really old guy, is better than theirs. Thinking that's reasonable to think, I attack. How I get over 5 watts per kilogram, I don't know, but I notice Hamish just puts on the orange numbers and then gets right up to me. Makoto's right behind him. You can see by my picture that I've got my happy face on again. I'm pretty reamed and I don't have a lot of time to recover. I see them both going ahead of me and I've got to pick up my power just so I stay close to them. I can't afford to make any mistakes right now. The best thing I can do at this moment is attack. I'm right behind them, so I should go, and thank goodness I'm able to go. So again, I'm picking up over 5.5 watts per kilogram. I'm counting on them to be slow to react, and they seem to be slow to react based on the watts per kilogram. They are picking it up now. They're about 1 second behind me. Looks like the tables have turned. It is now Makoto who's bridging up to me and has gapped Hamish. Maybe it's Makoto who is the master tactician. So he is close to me. They're still not on my wheel. It's still a long ways to go at 0.8 miles, and I've dialed down my power, and I think I'm pretty much done. Makoto keeps it up. Hamish is now passing me. Somehow I get my watts up. It's a little over 1 kilometer to go. My mouth is wide open. We're all taking our last breath. If you've been watching my channel, you know I don't have a sprint. So all I can do is just be on wheels, and I'm kind of on wheels right now. I'm just hoping that all the attacking I did earlier sucked the life out of their legs enough so that I could take them in the sprint. Hamish and I still have low power while Makoto is starting to increase his. He's now over 4 watts per kilogram. He's starting to go. Hamish is starting to go after him, but it doesn't look like Hamish has the legs. I'm still at 2 watts per kilogram and I'm running on fumes. That look in my eye tells me I don't care if I'm on fumes. I got half mile to go. That's enough time for me. By the time I pick up my power, Hamish has picked up his, and he's pretty much almost on Makoto's wheel. But that cost him, and he had to dial it back a bit. Makoto's the only one of us that's holding his power. That being said, I get my watts per kilogram almost up to 6. I pass them all. This is it, the move that can win me the race. Just 0.3 miles to go. But at this point, that's a long ways to go. Makoto is trying to get up to my wheel. I'm still above 5 watts per kilogram. He's now, he picks it up into orange numbers. He's like 10. He just takes off like a rocket. Now Hamish is coming up on me. I've just about given up the ghost. I'm about close to 100 watts. Hamish passes me and it's like 500 feet to go. I don't hear the fat lady singing yet. Somehow I pick up my watts, get up close again to 5 watts per kilogram plus. I'm able to pass Hamish up with 150 to go, and I'm able to hold it. Second place. These two guys rocked. They gave me a great workout. Well, I hope you enjoyed this and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.